talk about the 10 things you have to consider when you own a 1,000 horsepower car. No matter what brand, if it's a Ford, Chevy, Dodge, whatever it is. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the type of fuel you use. On this car, to get the most out of the horsepower, we are running E85. As many of you guys know, it's not available everywhere. You have to search for it, and for me, I'm lucky that I have a gas station that it's right down the road, about 3-4 miles from here. So we're gonna head over there and fill up the car with E85. So the second thing you have to worry about when you have a 1,000 horsepower car is your neighbors. For me, I live in a community. It's a gated community. My neighbors really don't. I don't think they like the car in the mornings. In the afternoons, they really don't complain. It's just more or less. I get up really early to go to work, so that's one of the 2 things. Actually, one of the 10 things that you run into when you own a car this loud. The third thing is the elements, the weather. Depending where you live, you have snow, ice. Obviously, these high horsepower cars are not very good to run in those types of elements. Here in Florida, we have a lot of rain, especially in the summertime. You know, these cars, you have to be very, very careful when you drive them in some type of inclement weather. It's very, very important to keep safe when you're driving. Dry surfaces, obviously, because you're not going to plant at all if it's slick out there. Which leads me to the fourth thing you have to consider when you have a car with this much horsepower, and that's the tires. I am personally, and I might catch a little bit of heat over this, but I am personally running Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires. It's what came with the car. I have not switched tire yet. It's more or less related to the type of wheels that I'm considering. I haven't really found the exact style I want. But the tires, 888Rs, they say they're good. A little noisy, but pretty good. Then you have the Mickey Thompsons, and then you have the new needles. I think it's called the R2. I believe that's what they're called. But again, I've done some research, and some of those guys are not even planting with a similar setup and those particular tires. So yeah, that's one thing you have to consider is what type of tire you're going to run. Are you going to daily the car? Are you going to take it out on the street, the strip? Because obviously tires are not cheap, and any type of sticky tire wears out pretty quick. So for the time being, I'm going to be running the 4S tires until I find the wheel that I like, that make the car look good, if I decide to take it out and have some fun at the track. The fifth thing to consider when owning a 1,000 horsepower car is have a good tuner. These cars, whenever you modify them, they would sometimes run into a little bit of issues, hiccups, something not catastrophic, just something that needs a little bit of fine tuning. And if you have a good tuner, that you can call and handle whatever problem it is, you'll get back up on the road really quick. I personally use Ken at Palm Beach Dyno. He's him and Rob Shoemaker. Those guys, they specialize on these 500s. They know what they're looking at. Normally they email you a tune, a patch, if there's something that's going on with the car, things like that. So you definitely have to have a good tuner that can help you out in case you run into any situations. I actually went on a rally and my car went onto limp mode just because I was running 93, not E85. So yeah, that's one of the things you have to have. And here is where we go back to number 1, and perhaps one of the most important ones. This is the only gas station within, I would say, 40 miles from where I live that has E85. It happens to be, a few miles from my house, but what do you know? They are out of E85. Either their pumps are not working, they have something that says out of service, So yeah, you know, it's definitely one of the things that you have to definitely line up. You got to have a backup, because I am 33 miles to empty, and luckily for me, I do have an N gauge. I can switch back to 93, but there's your problem. You know, let me go. I'm gonna drive around here and see if there's another pump here, see what they've got. Let's see here. Yep, they are out of E85. So yeah, see, that's why it's very important for you to have some type of backup plan when it comes to your fuel system. You know, on this car, I can switch back to 93. I'll be just fine. You know, I won't get too crazy with it. But yeah, that's evidence of what happens when you don't have E85 available. The sixth thing that I'm gonna talk about that you have to be concerned about and worry about when you own a 1,000 horsepower car is the expenses. How much are you willing to spend on your build? You know, any modifications past that? For me, I went ahead and just picked up a setup that I really liked, and I did the entire setup that way. The only thing that I had to change was the fuel pump booster. They didn't recommend it for these cars. So besides that, everything went according to plan. Exhaust, pulley, ported blower, injectors, fuel rails, intake, intercooler, manifold, you know, the Whipple manifold, the Whipple tensioner, you know, 265 pulley. All that stuff was hand chosen, you know, in conjunction with Mustang Lifestyle and Can-Am Palm Beach Dyno. So that's the sixth thing that you have to really pay attention to when you have a car with this much horsepower. You have to have the right setup, because if not, you're going to be down all the time. You're going to be wondering, why is this not working? Why is that not working? My car runs like it's factory until, you know, I decide to give it a little bit of gas. But other than that, I'm cruising along, no problems, air conditioner, back seat. So, but yeah, anyway, that's the sixth thing. The seventh one, this is probably one that everybody should know. Everybody should always never ignore, and that is safety. When you have a car with this much horsepower, you can't ignore safety. You know, seatbelt on, you know, where to push it. You know, if you're going to Mexico, make sure the roads are clear in Mexico. You know, make sure there's no other cars, you know, cross traffic, all that stuff, because these cars with 1,000 horsepower, any car for that matter, with 1,000 horsepower, that's you know, a split-second decision away from, you know, a catastrophe. So it's very important for you to on your trips to Mexico, make sure that you know, you're well aware of what's going on around you. Make sure, you know, your safety, seatbelt, all that good stuff. We had a situation here in locally where a gentleman with the exact same setup as I have in my car, with the exception of headers and 888Rs, ended up getting into an accident that was fatal. It was a split-second decision to just, you know, remove the traction control and see what the car was, you know, what the car was doing. Apparently, it had some type of issue with the tune. It wasn't just right, and he tried to diagnose something, troubleshoot something, turned off traction control, and ended up losing control, and ended up costing him his life. So that's the seventh thing that you have to consider when owning a car with this much horsepower. Let's talk about the eighth thing to consider when owning a car like this, and that's your financial situation. It's one of the things that I've noticed with a lot of people that I know that have builds. They max out their credit cards. They get into debt, you know, trying to make their cars fast. You know, just, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a person that's going to judge what you spend your money on, but, you know, just something to consider. Make sure you're financially stable to perform all this stuff, because this is a habit that can be very expensive, or a hobby, I'm sorry, that can be very expensive. You know, the last thing you want is to, you know, if you have payments, have your car repossessed because, you know, you overspend on modifying it. So again, make sure your financial situation is right. You know, build it smart. If little by little, if that's how you do it, you know, but make sure that that you consider that very important. The ninth thing that we want to talk about is listen to your car. Don't push it. If something doesn't sound right, don't push it. Listen to the car. They as some of you guys have seen, you guys that follow Mustangs, Stang mode is very prominent in this YouTube, you know, realm, and he had catastrophic failure, and I think he posted an invoice of how much it ended up costing him to get his car back up on the road, and he it was right at like 16,000. So the car probably leaned out, you know, so something happened, and he pushed it, leaned out, and ended up having, you know, catastrophic failure. I'm not sure if they identified exactly what was the cause, but again, the last thing you need to do is spend 10 grand modifying your car and then add another 16,000 on top of it. You know, Stang mode, obviously he does very well with his YouTube channel. He's very well liked. You know, he's done pretty well for himself. You know, I'm very proud of him. I like listening to him. It's one of the channels that actually motivated me to get a GT500 and even be on YouTube. Number 10 you have to worry about, and that's the last one, is these guys. You know, those guys are out there trying to you know, catch all of us when we go to Mexico. So, you know, one of the things that that you have to consider is when you have a car like this, no matter who sees it, it's a head turner, and people are going to you know, mess with you. They're going to say, hey, punch it, hey, you know, they'll have these jacked up pickup trucks, you know, that have a little bit of exhaust work done to it, and they just want to mess with you. So, you know, what do you have to show with that? So just make sure, you know, you don't get coerced before you get to Mexico. You know, mess with, I got messed around with the CO1 the other day going down the highway, and, you know, he had a stock CO1. I think he had a pulley on it, and it wasn't even a challenge. But again, he basically, he messed with me, and I bid. You know, he threw his bait out there. I bid, and then you know, I took the bait and I gunned it at the same time. And yeah, I mean, I definitely, you know, gapped them, but at the same time, you know, I was not in Mexico yet. So make sure that you definitely don't get coerced on when things like that happen. So there you have it, the 10 things that, in my personal opinion, you have to consider when you own a car with 1,000 horsepower, a car that's a head turner. You know, when you get your car where you dreamed you could have it, and you've got it there. You know, that's my advice to everybody. Again, that's just from my personal opinion, my personal experiences. Just don't, you know, don't get too crazy. But anyway, I just wanted to come in here on the channel and talk to you guys a little bit about, you know, some things to consider, and we'll be posting more content, and I will see you next time.